You got time.
All right, cool.
Hmm. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some snacks. Huh.
Oh man, I want to go to the show.
And so I don't think it's just a question of saying, should people have the option of choosing to not be
5
manipulated by their
seconds.
algorithms? I think if we had appropriate oversight, or if we reformed 230 to make Facebook responsible for the
Good morning. I'm
consequences
forecaster
of
Jimmy O'Neill from the KMET Weather Center. For the Beaumont and the Bay Area for the daytime hours, expect mostly sunny skies, those highs in the upper 70s. For the daytime hours in the IE area, expect mostly sunny skies, highs in the lower 80s. And for the daytime in the Coachella Valley, sunny skies, they're in abundance, highs, lower 90s. I'm forecaster Jimmy O'Neill for Smart Talk 1490 KMET.
That's right.
That's
It's the
right.
morning
It's the
show
morning
here
show
on
here on
ABC
ABC.
News Radio KMET 1490 AM. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. It's good to have you on this beautiful Tuesday. Did you get the thunderstorms in LA? My goodness, what was going on in the sky? I know a lot of people are taking pictures. There was a lot of flashes, a lot of thunder, and a lot of rain in the middle of the night. So it was nice to have a little bit. Not a lot. I know in certain areas around the world they've had a deluge of thunderstorms and or hurricanes and or tornadoes and or lava spills. It's been really bad around the world. And these are some of the things that we're watching as well very closely, especially La Palma, which actually has had a second fissure open, and a lot of homes and a lot of lives are being impacted by that as we speak. So we'll talk about that and then some. We got Mr. Jesse Sanchez over there. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning.
So you kind of updated me a little just yesterday on something which I was like, interesting. There were two bits of information, one of which I think is going to be a huge situation for the next couple of weeks, and the other is currently a situation regarding Facebook. But my question of the day is, which do you think is going to be bigger of the two stories? And maybe you might want to introduce the two stories that are happening kind of as a big headline.
Okay, so the first story, I really didn't know too much about it. I know like the little gist of it, which was the Facebook whistleblower
Right.
and about the whole the algorithm showing you hate speech and stuff like that. I just ignore all that stuff. So that stuff actually didn't bother me. That's nothing new to me. The Pandora Papers, that was a little bit more interesting. I'll have to look more into it, but from what it seems, is just how like the rich, the super rich, wealthy celebrities, elites, how they,
We
I don't
begin
know
with a
how they
massive
funnel their
outage
money.
around the globe, affecting some
I'm
3
not quite
billion
sure,
people
so I
on
have to
social
dive
media.
more
We're
into it.
learning
You
more
probably
about
have a
what
better
caused
grasp of
Facebook,
it than I do.
Instagram, and WhatsApp to go down for
Yeah,
hours. All of this.
look, what you're saying is nothing new to the rich. Always figure out a way of using certain things that they can in order to kind of alleviate certain paying down taxes, to be honest. And I think that's going to be the big one that we're going to find out about. But these type of like offshore island things are nothing new. Rarely, though, do you see a list of people that have actually participated in this, which is going to be the really big telling of the tale. Where you have some people. Let's put it this way: if you or I made like $100 billion, but we said we were poor because we put them over into these offshore accounts, and suddenly somebody here says, I really need money, and you say, I got nothing, sorry, I can't help you. And now it's public, you had money wrapped in another place, you were just holding on to it for a rainy day, most likely when you're either gonna like spend it whenever you wanted to. How would that make you look in the end?
Right? That would make you look pretty bad, especially like if you make it seem like you're poor or you're hurting and stuff like that, but you actually have like millions or a couple of billions hidden away in an offshore account. I mean, we've all seen this stuff in movies,
Yeah,
but it kind of it just makes your blood boil.
yeah. And especially when you see certain types of people in that, then you go, wait a minute. I was looking at some of the. So I had to look to some stories to kind of figure it out. But these are the countries where, again, they're like letting the people kind of suffer, but they themselves have all this money just wrapped up in other accounts. So the question of it is not just the names that are coming out, but more importantly, the way it's coming out. I think it's all coming out all at the same time. It's funny that, and I'll give you an example. Yesterday, we had a hard time, at least me. The station was good to go for yesterday. So the internet outage, I think, was bigger than people want to assume because I did have my, well, let's put it this way. There was an internet outage. That was number one. And evidently it started from 5 a.m. in the morning from yesterday. Now, everybody knows I broadcast on Facebook Live, Periscope TV, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, and then some. So I was trying to connect with Jesse via, as we always do, which is online. But my computer was completely locked off. So I had to call in through an old way of the telephone line. But even my cell phone had a problem. It had an outage as well. It could not get onto the internet at all. So I have, of course, Charter Spectrum, which did not have the ability to go online. And I love their speeds. They're very fast. But when they're off, they're off. So I would normally go on and call him through my phone or my Skype phone, right? I would just, hit the Skype. But that wasn't working. So then we had a situation where, of course, I had to call, but I had to use the regular telephone line. So we did the show yesterday, but just through the telephone line. I could not pull up any stories. I was relying on Jesse to pull up all the information because he's in the county of Riverside. Now, I'm in the county of L.A., or San Gabriel Valley, which is just outside of L.A. All of L.A., San Diego, and San Francisco were all out for the internet. Now, in between, of course, there were pockets where it wasn't like big areas or metropolitan areas where it was working. But in areas which are the very big capital areas, San Diego, LA, San Francisco, where you've got a lot of situations going on, all that was hit. But I looked at the East Coast too. New York was hit as well. Florida was hit as well. Detroit was hit as well. Sections just a little northwest of Chicago were hit. That's just an internet outage, period, end of story. Now, having said that, it wasn't just here, it was around the world. Who knew? Until we found out some information yesterday. We're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Then there's stories about social media being hacked, WhatsApp being hacked, Instagram, Facebook. They're still trying to determine what has happened in this time. Now, in past times, usually it's somebody testing or wanting to test a particular internet service provider for their vulnerabilities. Now, we've seen a lot of movies like that, right, Jesse?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So if you think about certain people with a agenda to want to hack into people's accounts or download accounts while they're kind of off, or maybe they circumvent, that's the question that I would ask internet service providers, to actually get that information out and say, hey, this is what happened, what led up to it. Obviously, I know they're probably working behind the clock to try to, disable certain IP addresses from accessing, but it's called one of the biggest things that, and this isn't the first time this happened, last year as well, but it will be called something very big eventually when they finally admit, yeah, we were hacked during this process. Nobody likes to admit that in the meantime because everybody's stressing out. You got businesses, you got companies that rely on internet providers to be able to provide everything for them in their business. So that's a huge situation when that happens. Now, having said that, the Pandora Papers, the countries with the most politicians named in the Pandora Papers, here's a story on this. The Ukrainian president may have pledged to reform the country's corrupt system of politics, but the Pandora Papers tell a different story. Now, the Zelensky had campaigned on cleaning up Ukraine's dominated oligarch system. He pushed to set himself apart from politicians like Petro Poroshenko, who hid offshore assets. That's according to The Guardian. But the Pandora Papers revealed that he was involved with a network of offshore companies which he co-owned with friends and business partners. Ukraine leads with 38 politicians named in the Pandora Papers. The top 5 are Ukraine, Russia, Honduras, United Arab Emirates, and Nigeria. Okay, so Ukraine has a pretty big portion of politicians using that. Now, though offshore companies are not illegal, they help facilitate this. Tax evasion, that's going to be the number one thing. People are going to say, I thought you said you pay your taxes. Or money laundering. That is a huge red flag. If you have money laundering happening in an offshore account, there's a situation. Or if you're hiding money laundering, who are you laundering the money for? That is the one that's going to take down a lot of people. The network of reporters and media organizations that obtained the records was the Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Now, I'm going to say, it's probably one of the biggest stories that's going to hit the headlines, because when they find out the money laundering part, that's when governments are going to go toe-to-toe with other governments saying, wait a minute, who are you funding? Who are you making the money for? And that's going to be a huge situation in the coming days. So watch that very closely. That's a situation. The Pandora Papers, Pandora's box, yeah. I got questions on that. What do you think, Jesse? What do you think is going to happen in the next couple of weeks with that?
Oh, I honestly I have no idea. I need to sift more through this, and like, is there like a penalty that they're gonna suffer? I that's a question that I want to know.
Well, I think it's going to be more of a look. I don't think they're going to lose their money right away. I think they're going to move their money right away into other types of locations. Look, here in the home front of the U.S., does it happen? What do you think, Jesse?
Does what, the money laundering?
Or just moving your money into a place so you can avoid taxes. Does that happen?
I'm pretty sure it happens here all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, as long if you're filthy rich, no, there's no doubt you're doing this.
Well, and there you go. Okay, Nevada is very big on the subject of that. It's kind of not really a secret if you do the research. To those that are like middle income or less, you go, wait, how much did they pay down? And if you kind of did the math, and I know we've done the math on a couple of things, but you're like, okay, what are you going to do? The reason people got upset way back in the day, if you remember the 1%ers, do you remember that? The 99, we're the 99%, there's the 1%ers, and there was a huge like shift of how come we're, paying everything down. The reality is, if you make over a certain amount and you know how to put it away, you pay about, some would say it's not that less, but I would say anywhere from 8 to 10% in taxes, ultimately, versus the average American, which usually pays anywhere from 30 to 34% because they don't know what they're doing. Okay? Now, having said that, the majority of the economy is run by government, but paid into by the average middle American citizen. So, when you say, wait, are we all equal? The answer is no, not necessarily. Now, there's smart ways to put away your money and be okay with it, like to charities, right? Send it to a charity. But some people create charities and then hide their money in the charity, not doing the thing that they say they're going to do to begin with to offset certain money taxes. Do you understand? So there's so many different like pocketings of ways. What were you going to say, Jesse?
No, I was say, oh, okay, that makes so much sense now.
Yeah, and here's the situation, but it's always been a thing that even the FBI always works heavily on, which I know the FBI is going to be very interested, especially here on the home front, is offshore accounts that have shell companies that don't do what they say they do. Shell companies, if you see them, they are in of itself basically like an empty can, which runs a bunch of nefarious things, but nobody knows until you go, where did the money go? Who did you pay off? And who got murdered from it? Who got killed from it? Who got strong-armed from it? So these are the things that are going to come out from this. And for those wondering, The Pandora Papers is a leak of almost 12 million documents that reveals hidden wealth, tax avoidance, money laundering from the rich and powerful. This is one of those oh no rich things. Usually the rich don't bother or worry because they have and know a lot of people, but people don't need to know everything, right? Now that everybody's going to know, now it's called, oh shoot, in the face. You can't hide. More than 600 journalists in 117 countries have been trawling through the files from 14 sources for months, finding stories that are being published this week. So they basically said, look, we're protected, man, because they know. You know what? I guarantee you this is going to be a movie, Jesse, of how this came out within the next 3 to 4 years. Because it's one of those investigative moments, right?
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt this will become a movie or some type of documentary or something. It'll be interesting.
It will be, and I can tell you, I can almost say, this is one of those that probably people, and I hope nobody died from it, or they were running for their life. There was a reason they had to join all the journalists, because one person getting all this out would be, what was it, Jesse? What was that? What did you do?
Yeah, no, to be honest, if one journalist was doing this, I'm pretty sure they'd be gone. So the fact that there are multiple journalists working on this,
Yeah.
it's less chance of them not being muted.
Well, if you ever watched the movie on Snowden, whether you agree with what he did or not, I think what he did was actually very powerful and telling of how government can overreach in some cases and affect your own privacy by funneling it down to your computer and seeing everything you do from the own comfort of your home. And that information, or the WikiLeaks, was a huge game changer in the way things are viewed as far as like government overreach and privacy concerns. Now, having said that, if you haven't watched Snowden, I will say watch that, and you will say this is a real thing, and then, yeah, it's a real thing. But he came out and he almost probably didn't survive. There's things that he hasn't even talked about. Again, someone would be like, well, he would, but you got to see the story first in order to understand. I didn't know the story until I saw the movie, and then I did more research. I said, okay, well, I'm glad you actually came out about this. Now, having said that, the Pandora Papers and all of that, they will vilify those that actually got the information 100% if they can. But it's so blown open. It's like one of those moments. Like, you ever watch, like, Superman and Lois Lane, and all of a sudden, like, Superman helps Lois Lane get the information out, and then Lois Lane gets it out, and then, but he does so safely, and it's like, blow the cover open so that, Lex Luthor and his villains can't hide away. It's like that, right, Jesse?
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
So if you equate it to that, that's kind of what happened in order to get this information out. Now, here's what's been uncovered. 6.4 million documents, 3 million images, 1 million emails, and almost 500,000 spreadsheets. Now, the owners of more than 1,500 UK properties bought using offshore firms, including individuals accused of corruption. What kind of corruption? Oh, man, it goes really bad. The Qatari ruling family, who avoided 18.5 million tax on a London supermansion. Sir Philip and Lady Green went on a property spree after offloading the BHS retail chain, which went on to collapse. The prominent Tory donor, who was involved in one of Europe's biggest corruption scandals. The King of Jordan's $70 million spending spree on properties in the UK and US through secretly owned companies. That is called, who has money to give to the US and the UK? Again, the King of Jordan. Azerbaijan's leading family's hidden involvement in property deals in the UK worth more than 400 million. The Czech Prime Minister's failure to declare an offshore investment company used to purchase 2 French villas for 12 million. And how the family of Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta secretly owned a network of offshore companies for decades. Now, the files expose some of the most powerful people in the world, including 330 politicians from 90 countries, and how they use secret offshore companies to hide their wealth. Lakshmi Kumar from U.S. think tank Global Financial Integrity explained that these people are able to funnel and siphon money away and hide it. Let me give you some perspective really quick. let's say you're going through a divorce and you're like, my husband has a lot of money. I know he does, right? Now, you go through the divorce and you get what they call auditors, or they actually go through the financials and they say, okay, this is how much money he makes. This is how much you're due in alimony and for your kids, right? But all of a sudden he says, I've got no money. And they say, yeah, we don't know why we can't find it. Oh, he has money. It's just in one of these other accounts. But now his own family have to suffer. And now that his family have to suffer, they have to get basically the peanuts of things while he is off on vacation, quite often spending his time offshore or in another land or another country or whatever he wants to do. So, yeah, he spends a lot of money, but he doesn't give any of the money to the family. That is what these certain politicians are going to be seen as. You pocket away your money, but you do not pay your people. Why are we putting you in power? And when that gets seen in the next week and a half, you're going to see some countries start to get really upset and possibly some uprising. So be aware of that. All right, we got to take a quick little break. We'll be right back with more right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Experience sheer driving pleasure. Visit BMW of Ontario in the Ontario Auto Centre. Whether you are looking to purchase, lease, or service your BMW, there is only one place to go in the Inland Empire, and that is BMW of Ontario. Visit us today, just east of Interstate 15 off Harupa Street, or online at bmwofontario.com.
Beljanski supplements and herbal teas, widely used in Europe, now the Beljanski formulas are available in the United States. Used by athletes, fashion models, the former president of France, and those in the know. Beljanski supplements and herbal teas can work for you. Call 212-308-7066. That's 212-308-7066. Visit our center in New York City. Our website is www.maisonbeljanski.com. That's www.maisonbeljanski.com. Feel better naturally. Beljanski formulas.
KMET presents the Heart to Heart radio show every Thursday afternoon beginning at 4 p.m. Heart to Heart grapples with personal issues of addiction, sex therapy, relationships, and trauma. With over 60 years of combined counseling experience, Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert discuss lifestyles and treatments to help you cope and achieve the inner peace you may be seeking. The Heart to Heart radio show is here for you every Thursday afternoon beginning at 4 o'clock p.m.
Mattress Brothers Overstock Mattress Sale. Just $3.99 for a foam-encased queen pillow top set. $3.99. Check out Mattress Brothers $3.99 Overstock Sale. Mattress Brothers at 120 West Redlands Boulevard in Redlands. The $3.99 Overstock Sale is on now. $3.99 for a foam-encased queen pillow top set. Mattress Brothers also has locations in Hemet, Riverside, and Palm Desert. The $3.99 queen pillow top sale on now.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
Welcome back. Yes, it is the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. We're looking at your comments and social media. Keep them coming. And we got Stephanie Reed says, I didn't even know there was an outage until I seen the news last night. I was editing and went outside smelling the fall air. I will say this. And I complained on yesterday's show. I'm going to complain again until Microsoft clears it up. If you buy one of the newer Microsoft or Windows type of computers, you will find a login. And in the login, it's tied to the Microsoft, I think through Skype or whatever Microsoft owns. They have you form that right at the beginning. The problem with that is if you had an internet outage and you tried logging into your computer, you could not go past the sign-in screen. Microsoft, you got to figure that out. There's a lot of times people go onto the computer, but they do not want to log in to the internet, like editing. And I'm sure, Stephanie, you have one of, keep your computer, don't upgrade anytime soon. But that's what the latest ones have. I have a Lenovo, which I love the computer itself. It's a touchscreen. I had to buy it because my other computer crashed. But having said that, the program is a really bad one because it doesn't allow you to go past the sign-in. So, of course, it has the latest Windows, but I'm like, hello, Windows, can you get smart about that? I want to be able to log into my computer. There should be a bypass from the so if you're not online, you can't get past your online sign-in screen. Does that make any sense to you, Jesse?
Oh, yeah, it really does. I'm trying to look into that. There are a few people that have a problem like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of weird. I don't like that.
I just want to disable it because it's pointless.
There has to be a way to disable it.
Yeah, it's pointless. It locks you out of your own computer. I said it yesterday, but I know a lot of people weren't tuning in because they weren't watching. Usually, you guys like to watch on air or other ways. But that's why I say download our app. It's free. KMT 1490 AM. If we don't go on Facebook and or Instagram or YouTube, we're still on the radio. We were on yesterday, so that's the good news. We just had to do it through the old ways of calling in through the telephone line, which is what we can do because we work remotely. But there you go. So just be careful of things happening in your neck of the woods and be very much aware. Now, Jesse, you said something, and I think it's interesting. You say, I'm waiting for the day the poor rise up against the elites that are in charge. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, I just watching everything around the world, and you see these elites, they make laws specifically to help them and not everybody else. So I hate seeing rich people get away with stuff where the average person would be sent to jail for years. So it's pretty much money talks.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I remember here on the home front when people did, and they kind of hung out and they kind of protested, but nothing really got done in the end. So people were like, do you know what a 1% means? And I will say there are some that make sense of it. But the question is, in order for people to kind of go and make an impact, you have to understand why it happens in the first place. And there's a host of factors. And there's some very smart people that used to work with Clinton and actually were able to implement a lot of things that helped Clinton and that time that he served help the U.S. rebound because they were smart economics. But one person, which I actually follow very closely, actually still makes sense of it. And maybe we could get him on the show one day to kind of figure it out. But I would make it a full hour show because it makes a lot of sense. In order to understand inflation, money, where it goes, and how it's used by the government, and why the majority of people paying down the debt is the average American citizen, usually under $50,000 average. Okay, those that are above $180,000 usually look to certain organizations and or other people that say, hey, put your money here. Now there's some that kind of go, well, I don't want to do that, but I'd rather pay into charities. That's where charities come into effect. But they need to be a charity that makes sense. I remember listening to, and it wasn't our station, but it was another station because I was traveling at the time. And I remember hearing how to create a nonprofit and put your money into the nonprofit and then have that work for you. Now that makes sense if the nonprofit is doing the things you say it's supposed to do, but it doesn't work if you're just putting your money and then paying yourself out of it. But there's all kinds of those as well. And then there's shell companies that are basically a cover or a front that if that shell company gets called out, well, all the other companies are kind of hidden underneath it, so you don't really know. And once it goes away, in other words, who are you going to attack at the end of the day? The shell company, but the shell company is all private because it's private money, supposedly. but it could be corporate money, it could be other money, it could be all kinds of money, all put into one place at one time. So the question begs itself, who's making or taking advantage of these particular companies and or what they call loopholes and profiting from, and at the same time not helping the people they say they serve. So you got to be careful with that. Bobby Stamp says, good morning, Earthlings of Earth. Let's see, Algenia says, good morning, friends, just tuning in. What about the UK? Oddly enough, I'm not sure what you're talking about, except I am looking on the UK and which countries are on the UK red list is what they're calling it. The UK has introduced a new system for international travel, loosening testing requirements for many fully vaccinated travelers and designated destinations, either red or green. There are 54 countries on the UK's red list, including Mexico and South Africa. The list is updated every 3 weeks, and a refresh is expected towards the end of the week beginning October 4th. All UK arrivals, regardless of country of origin or vaccination status, must complete a passenger locator form before arriving in the UK. Fully vaccinated travelers arriving in the UK from green list countries no longer need to do a pre-departure test, but must still book and pay for a day 2 PCR test. Travelers under 18 arriving from green list countries are subject to the same rules as fully vaccinated travelers. Non-vaccinated travelers arriving in the UK from green list countries must still present a pre-departure negative test, which is complete within 72 hours of departure. Must book and pay for a day 2 and a day 8 PCR test. Non-vaccinated green list travelers must quarantine for 10 days upon their arrival in the UK. In other words, I would not travel anytime soon unless you absolutely have to. Do things virtually, and you'll be fine. So that's all that I got on the UK. But is the UK on the Pandora Papers? If that's the question, the answer is, oh, yes. Oh, yes. And that is really going to be telling for Britain as well. But we'll find out more about that. In the meantime, we need to go ahead and take a quick little break. We got more right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Do you ever wish you could make a difference in the world, inspire change? You know, express yourself without all the drama? Together We Are Strong allows you to do just that. Wear your heart on your sleeve by rocking artistically designed tees, hats, and coffee mugs. Together We Are Strong is a brand that stands for unity, equality, and protecting our voting rights. All proceeds from these voting rights products are donated to Rock the Vote. This amazing organization is on a mission to empower young voters. Did you know that as of 2020, millennials and Gen Z make up 40% of all eligible voters? That's right. You've got the power to drive change. Become an activist without saying a word. Shop at togetherwearestrong.com.
Join Daryl McCann and Yvette Walker each Tuesday at 4 p.m. on ABC News Radio, KMET, and Internet KMET TV for the Southern California Business Report. The show highlights successful businesses and individuals behind it. Daryl and Yvette interview the incredible people managing these enterprises that range from awe-inspiring sole proprietors to world-renowned organizations. The Southern California Business Report, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. on KMET AM, FM, and Internet KMET TV.
Hey, Mark's here. We want people should know about the new Italian radio show on KMET. Like my Uncle Vinny used to say, Gumbas non stunad.
SID, there is no such words in Italian.
Forget about it. Tell them about the show.
The Italian Radio Show, presented by West Coast Italian Radio.
Mondays at 4 p.m. on KMET 1490, or stream us live 24/7 from our website at WCIR.biz.
Make sure to tune in.
You don't want that we should have to tell you twice.
You've been charged with a crime, and now you're facing the loss of your freedom. Where do you turn to get out of jail or stay out of jail? The law offices of Wallen and Claridge. Call 877-4-NO-JAIL. With over 20 years' experience and attorneys who work in your local courts, Wallen and Claridge can make the difference between jail and freedom. When you need help, make one call. Make it to Wallen and Claridge. 877-4-NO-JAIL. The call is free. Will you be?
Don't let insurance companies make decisions for you. Go to Pass Auto Center in Banning, your one-stop repair facility with full collision repair, auto maintenance, service, and an authorized smog center. You'll also find a full-service used car lot to fit every budget with the right vehicle for you. Trade-ins are accepted and they pay cash for your car. Pass Auto Center at 2609 West Ramsey in Banning, just off the I-10 freeway between Sunset and 22nd. Call 951-849-7878.
Welcome back. Yes, it is the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. I will say something this week is happening in Los Angeles and in international waters. It's the La Femme Film Festival of 2021. You know, we've talked about this each and every year. I'm happy to always support a great festival that supports women in filmmaking for all. There's a lot of great stories this year as well, but we are doing what is the first time ever done, which is a hybrid model of a film festival, which is, I'm happy, first of all, to be part of this because it is something that we've been talking about for quite some time. And Leslie Lepage, who we've had here on the show, has done at great length the right thing by making it a hybrid situation. What I mean by that is it will be playing at the Regal Cinema 14 at the LA Live area, which is just around the corner from the Staples Center. If you know where the Staples Center is at, you know all of that area. That is where the film festival will take place in person. Now, people usually that I talk to here on the show are always like, well, okay, but I can't participate. But you can this year because it is both online and in person all at the same time. So it's going to be running simultaneously. So through the next couple of days, I say go to lafemme.org. Get your tickets. You can get an all-access pass, a virtual only for $20. You get all of the films and then some. You get to watch all of the great interviews that we've had already, which we did Sunday, but we're broadcasting them each and every day. And if there is one that actually kind of hits you, then say, you know what, I can at least go see that one online. Or let's say you want to know about the business of film. Like, for example, Stephanie Reed does a lot of stuff, and she could easily just get the $20 one, watch the online viewing of it, and watch the panels because they're going to simulcast those as well. I say do it. Why not? But if you can make it in person, you can meet the filmmakers as well. Now, we had a lot of filmmakers from China, from parts of South Korea. We had a couple from Australia. We had some from the UK. We had one from Canada. We have other ones from Latin America, all that participated this coming or last Sunday of interviews that we have, all films coming from literally around the world, covering all kinds of topics. And all these are going to be featured this week at the La Femme Film Festival. And it truly is the La Femme International Film Festival, which I'm so happy and excited to be a part of because I've been with them for the last, I want to say 8 years. And we did something very early on at that point, and we just broadcast from the red carpet of that day and just did a good 4 hours. Lately, it's been more like a 6 to 8 hour run with every interview happening for like good 5 to 6 minutes of each and every interview. We went overtime, actually. But the filmmakers are able to get their story out, get their information out, and then say, hey, why don't you sign up and help us out as well? And then spread the word. So we're going to be doing that in the next couple of days as well. So make sure, please, to participate. It's a great organization. It is a nonprofit, but she does so much work behind the scenes that she barely makes a dime at the end of the day. It helps the filmmakers go next level, but that's not her day job. Her day job is actually realty. So my point is this: support, be good, be great, be wonderful, and then be amazing at the end of the day to help each and every other person out that is trying to get into film or has an interest in film or just has a story worth being told. There are so many of those happening this year. I can guarantee we'll probably have them in the coming weeks as well, just to talk about their own films. All right, having said that, a lot of news. Jesse, you're following the story. What's going on over there?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at this oil spill off of Orange County. Did you hear about that?
Unfortunately, that's in my neck of the woods, man. I love to go to Huntington Beach, but now I cannot.
Right? I'm just like, that's one of the, I don't know, that's one of my things that's like, if I live near the beach and then something like this oil spill or, I don't even know, oil leak? They say it's a spill, but I think it's a leak. I'm not quite.
Yeah, well, it's technically a leak. They say they already fixed it, but it's already spilled more than 100,000 gallons of oil in Southern California, devastating wildlife. and creating a lot of problems. And I can guarantee you this is going to be a problem in the coming weeks.
Coming weeks, more like months and maybe years to come. That it looks horrible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was here's some information again from USA Today, and of course you're going to. If you're a sea creature or a fish or some type of mammal that was trying to be okay in our own waters, you'd be like, what is this gunk and why is it here, right? You would be the one. I don't care who did it, just stop doing it, right? That would be right? Don't you think that would be kind of the words or the thoughts, Jesse? What do you think they'd say?
Oh my, be glad Aquaman is not real, or they don't have like some kind of like shark superhero.
Right?
I'm surprised the wildlife in the ocean hasn't come to take its revenge.
Yeah,
but for all we know, it might.
You know it, you never know. Millions of Californians descended on Orange County's famed beaches on the hot Saturday. This was this last Saturday, actually. And they had no idea that a massive oil spill had occurred the night before, which was Friday night or Friday evening. Federal and state authorities were aware of the spill by Friday evening. Official spill reports show. Now, they were aware. The question is, how long had it been before they were aware, right? So if they were aware and all of a sudden they're like, oh, shoot, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration satellites spotted an oily anomaly mushrooming in inky Pacific waters through the night. So it were satellites that caught it first, it sounds like. So here's the situation as far as we know. Again, this is a story according to USA Today. Early Saturday, with winds blowing the slick away from the coast, officials chose not to inform the general public. Uh-oh. Oh, boy. Why would you not tell everyone, Jesse?
Right? Like, I can just imagine, like, I'm swimming in the ocean. They don't tell anybody. I get hit with this oil or some kind of chemical, and then, boom, my hair falls out or I have cancer. Like, who do I blame for that?
Okay, I'll go with that. Or just, what if you light a match and all of a sudden it gets on fire?
God, don't.
But that's what can happen. It's as simple as that, right? Or lightning could strike the water and then all of a sudden, whoop, right?
Ooh, yeah, that'll be worse. A giant fire in the water. We don't need that again.
Okay, and that's happened already. So here's the story as it states here, and this is true. I didn't go to this, but they have it each and every year. It's a little bit late this year, but it's the Military Air Show in Huntington Beach. That went on as planned this past Saturday, by the way. Okay, with an estimated 1.5 million visitors attending, but no one knew what was going on just in the oceans. More visitors escaping the inland temperatures in the 90s flocked to Newport Beach and other prized coastal beaches. By nightfall, winds had shifted, and so had authorities. Officials told reporters a pipeline had ruptured and it looked bad, with at least 125,000 gallons of crude oil headed straight toward the coast. Uh-oh. See, one thing, it's hitting the ocean. Don't worry about it. Just get it. Now, I will say this. Obviously, they informed those pipelines in the area, hey, check out something because this is what we're seeing from afar, right? But we don't need to let people know because it's not going inland. The moment it goes inland, then all of a sudden, oh shoot, everybody's going to find out. The 2-mile-long spill underscores a disturbing reality with oil spills and other hazardous releases. As many as a dozen a day are reported to emergency hotlines just in California. Did you know that? I didn't know that. The public usually never knows.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, because it would be up our, like, seriously, I'm telling you right now, whales right now would be like, give me a club so I could beat down those dummies. They got little kids in there, right? You got the little ones, you got mommies, you got daddies, right? I know we don't believe in reincarnation, but if you had to be a whale, right? Would you want to be in the Pacific Ocean with a bunch of oil coming at you?
No, not at all. If I was reincarnated as a whale, I'd probably, no, I'm not a whale. I want to be a killer whale.
You want to be an orca trapped by SeaWorld? Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't want to be trapped by SeaWorld.
See, when people go, if people put their minds in the thought of like our friends as known as mammals, we're mammals, they're mammals, right? There's a lot of similarities. But my point is this. As many as a dozen a day are reported to emergency hotlines in California. The public usually never knows. Some inland oil spills have run for years, attracting little notice and even earning companies who scoop up the gushing oil and refine it millions of dollars. I didn't know you can scoop it up. You can scoop it up and refine it. Oh, then maybe that's how we should clean it. The delayed notice and the scope of the spill infuriated many locals. Dwayne Brady, who's biked along Huntington Beach with a small dog, Killer. I like that name. Meet my dog. His name is Killer. Said, this is 2021. It isn't like we're living in the Stone Ages. We have technology and safety features. Wasn't there pressure gauges? Didn't they detect all the oil pouring out? Actually, there's more than pressure gauges that they have access to. But evidently, they're not thinking straight. Brady, who's lived in the city for 18 years, questioned why the community wasn't alerted sooner and why, if the pipeline had leaked that much oil, it didn't automatically stop. You just shut the thing down. But you have to understand, wherever it was leaking, did the pipe go bad? Is there a sprung leak? Like, what was the situation that happened? But he says someone needs to be held accountable. Is he right? Yes. Will they be? No. It's called, we're cleaning it up. We're taking care of it. Don't worry about it. While certain wildlife gets taken really bad, a bad, hefty turn because they are dying in mass. People wonder why certain mammals beach themselves. Well, they have nowhere else to go. And when they beach themselves and they land on the surface, it's a cry for help. But what do? Nothing in the end. Experts agree the public should have been notified as soon as federal and state officials knew a large spill was in progress offshore. Whether it had reached beaches or not, spills can be hazardous to people as well as wildlife. Yeah, no duh. You take a boat out there and you see that, oh, you'll see it. And other ones did take boats and they did say, what is the slick? Where is it coming from? UC Irvine professor Donald Blake, who's an atmospheric chemist who has long studied air pollution, including oil spills, says it would have made more sense to at least report it publicly and then let people decide if they want to go to the beach and possibly be exposed at the air show. Crude petroleum contains a smorgasbord of toxic and carcinogenic pollutants that vaporize when spilled. Right? That's why you're not supposed to inhale for too long. Right, Jesse? Do you do that with the gasoline?
No, I don't do that with gasoline. I used to do that with markers, but not gasoline.
Not anymore, right? He's like...
I'm not talking about those smelling markers. You know, they used to smell like blueberry or cherries or something.
No, I remember. Yeah, kids used to get high with that stuff. I remember. Yeah. Trust me. I sniffed it a couple times. I was like, ugh, why would you do that? But there's something about gas I actually like the smell. I don't know why. But too much of it can create problems in your lungs, and that's what they've proven. So they said, look, including benzene, toluene, and xylenes. The most dangerous spot is at the site of the bubbling rupture. The gases can be carried for miles in the air. When a single drop of oil spills in the ocean off the U.S. coast, it must, by law, be reported by the 24-hour Federal National Response Center, the designated federal point of contact for reporting all oil, chemical, radiological, biological, and ideological discharges into the environment. But by the time the first report was made of an oil spill off Southern California on Friday, according to a copy of the report, which was obtained by USA Today and the Desert Sun, it was already 2 nautical miles long and 100 meters wide. The public wouldn't be told until 24 hours later, after millions of people had gone to nearby beaches on the Sunday, Saturday. So that's what you were breathing in. Great job, government. The first call came in at 6:13 p.m., according to a copy of the federal report on the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services spill report website. It said caller is reporting an unknown sheen in the water near their vessel in the Pacific Ocean. See, so somebody else. And then they were able to verify that from the sky. Officials at NOAA also notified the Federal Response Center twice in that night. The satellites are picking up a large anomaly that looked like oil. Center 4.5 miles off Huntington Beach. That's not that far away. But again, back to wildlife. What are you going to do to help the wildlife that have to live in it? And it gets clumpy. It's not all just like, oh, very simple. And it looked disgusting. I saw reports last night that just made me kind of go like, oh my God, I would not want to be in the water with that. But people are. In all, at least 30 agencies were listed to be notified, including federal, state, regional, and local departments dealing with fire, air, land, parks, health, wildlife, water, and utilities. By dawn, the spill had grown to 3 nautical miles long and up to 0.7 of a mile wide. That's a lot of oil just making its way anywhere, right?
Right? Just imagine, like, if it wasn't anywhere near the coast, would they actually tell anybody?
No, they wouldn't have.
Right? So it's just like the people that are on the coast and the homeowners are like, yeah, we don't want to see that. But either way, it's devastating.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible. Let's see. It's not immediately clear if or when Amplify Energy, the company whose pipeline ruptured somewhere between its platform off Huntington Beach and its Long Beach pumping facility, made a formal report. News reports quoted a company official saying they had notified the U.S. Coast Guard that an oil spill had occurred after the company observed an oily sheen in the water. The Coast Guard said it received an initial report of an oil sheen at 9:10 a.m. That was 15 hours after the first report was made. So there's going to be this whole who told what, where was the breakdown, and now that it got called out. Deborah Gordon says, who's a Brown University professor and senior fellow at the Rocky Mountain Institute, who's going to get a fax on a Friday night? Who even gets faxes? That report is going nowhere. She's right. What happened to notifications? Have you ever had that where certain places tell you fax us? You're like, you still use a fax? What?
Oh, fat. What is this? 1999?
1983 is what they think. Seriously, people. Is it a dot matrix? Right? Okay, what does it say? All right, that's what you used to live by a fax. But on Friday night, that's what she's saying. Gordon, who studied California oil field and production, said the process illustrates how antiquated emergency response systems are in the U.S. and when it comes to hazardous releases. Anytime there's a release, she said, anytime something leaks into the air into the water, there should be a public notification. That's called get it taken care of. My God, people. In the last week's spill, the public was not notified until later Saturday, despite complaints from the public and shop owners in Newport Beach and Huntington Beach about a heavy tar-like smell starting Friday afternoon. So they noted it, but it wasn't going to do anything in the end to help everyone because nobody was jumping on the bandwagon and everybody was passing the buck is basically what happened. Have they done things since? Oh, yeah, of course. But now everybody's aware of it, so now everybody's like, oh, shoot, we got to take care of everything. And then some. Yeah. That's why the public needs to know about it. Okay. Let's see. So, yep, there it is. Okay, so lots of ways that they're going to try to do and help. But anybody that will air show, if you have problems in your lungs, get it taken care of, okay? Seriously. For the rest of us, just try to do the right thing, okay? Let's see. Some comments from social media. Algenia says, I had friends from Texas that helped with the Gulf of Mexico oil spill a few years ago. That Gulf can be cleaned up on the shores. Go by Home Depot, buy the green carpet placed on the shoreline. The waves come in the gulp, get stuck in the rugs, just roll them up and place on back of city trucks. Interesting. That's one way of dealing with it. I did not know that. Let's see. Viviana says they are saying an anchor hit the pipeline. That's interesting. I didn't know that. And that could have happened. I mean, again, you drop it in the wrong area. How do you know there's a pipeline there, right?
Right. Since all those container ships are all off on the coast.
Yeah.
They could easily just drop anchor and accidentally hit the pipeline while they're just floating there. So it's possible.
Yeah, they're looking into whether a ship's anchor may have struck the oil pipeline on the ocean floor, causing the heavy crude to leak in coastal waters and foul beaches. That's what they're looking at. But if they can move that quick, then they can move that quick to get it cleaned up. I see. I understand that. It's called liability. Yikes. All right, people, we're going to take a quick break here on the morning show. It's called Tune In. Download the app. KMT 1490 AM. We got news around the corner and much, much more. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Bye-bye. And for the rest of you tuning in, this is our after show program. I haven't done this in a while, but I see you guys still there on social media. So I'm going to say this, okay? These are the type of situations that really make for a bad time in our world. And what I mean by that is, and it was kind of a comment that was said earlier, what are we? In the dark ages, kind of was what that other individual was saying. It's 2021. There are so many technological advances that there are ways of dealing with this promptly, securely, and fast. Now, could it have been a possible anchor that hit a pipeline? Why not? Okay. But having said that, how many different ways can you go about it to make sure to clean it up right away, seal it off, and then make sure to pay the money to do the right thing instead of other organizations having to flip the bill as well in order to make sure you clean these things up? Now, am I against oil? No. They help the world go round. Period. End of story. I'm not going to be that guy that says oil needs to stop happening. But there are ways of transporting these in a safe manner that have been researched for quite some time. They just take investment dollars. Okay? If you are of the mindset that there is new technology that can help move things along faster and smoother and in a safe way, then you're of the mindset of the coming future. If you're of the mindset that uses fax machines and or old antiquated machinery and or things in order to get things done, kind of like coal, right? Who's going to work in a mining coal mine shaft anymore, right? We've kind of moved past that. But there's some that say, no, it's the right way to go about it. No, it's not. Just do it new, do it right, and do it more amazingly so, right? There are ways to get around this because our wildlife, although some people do care, others do not. So let me amplify it for you just a little bit more. There are those in the ocean that require oxygen. They require all kinds of, let's call it this way, the cycle of our Earth. If you disrupt the cycle of the Earth for too long, it creates a problem long term. There are places on this earth that need to be cleaned. Period. End of story. Now, a lot of the soil ends up dissipating after time. It ends up leaking, right, away from the area. Usually. But there's so many different versions of the oil. The kind that clumps up and gets like tarry, that's the crude oil part of it. But now you're talking about the gases part of it. The parts that aren't always filtered properly. Methane, octane, and other gases are all seeping into our world's waters. When that happens, you have an imbalance of certain gases in the ocean. And when you have an imbalance of said things in the ocean, you have a problem for wildlife swimming through those waters. You might as well just toxify the entire environment in the end. Because the reality is, too much of that, over too long, will get into the air eventually. It's called evaporation. When that stuff evaporates over time, give it a good 30, 40 years, if nobody locks it down now, within the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to have a problem in about 80 years of, what the heck is that smell? Now, here in California, we're very used to smog, okay? We're a little too used to it. In the 70s, it was at its peak. In the 80s, it cleared up thanks to certain EPA standards. Through the 90s, it got better because, of course, well, now certain vehicles were made in a certain way. But it got worse after 1998. And if you did the research with EPA standards versus what it was before to what it is now, you say, where did we go backwards? Now, San Bernardino and Riverside, especially San Bernardino, had really bad toxic air for quite some time. It was known as one of the worst air environments in the U.S., especially California. You went too far east, and guess what you would get? Burning of the eyes. Oh, I can't see what's going on with me. That's toxicity in the air. Now, toxicity in the air, after so long, gets to be a problem because it's inhalement of the fumes into your lungs. Now, if you have already a problem with your lungs, you're going to have more problems. When you mix that with coronavirus and or any other debilitating thing, you've already weakened your lungs, not knowing you weaken your lungs due to the environment that you live in. So now the environment that you live in, combined with a certain maybe pneumonia and or other thing that affects your lungs, you get worse from it eventually. Now, there are a lot of people that see a whale, they look at a whale, and they think nothing of it. There are those that go whale watching. I used to do that. Once I did it by myself, actually, and then I took others because I said it's so relaxing going into the marina to be able to see the whales from afar. Or sometimes it's about and blow out of the blowhole and see the tail. And it's just something magnificent when you see a huge creature swimming right next to the boat. Now, I didn't talk about it because I didn't have any time, but there are marina businesses on the shore that rely on these whale watching things. And I will say, when they clean it up, go take advantage of it. In Newport, they have some great ones, and it's very cheap. It's like $20. $20, you and you could take your friend or your family member, or you could take the whole family, get on the boat, and they take it out to where the whales are migrating, usually either north or south. It just depends on what time of the year it is. Now, whales have been here since prehistoric days. And if you think of any large creature, the whales are the ones that have been here ever since the beginning. Because, well, hello, look at their size and their massive scale. Now, having said that, if there was never a whale in that of, or nearabouts, Nineveh, that helped save Jonah, that was in the Bible way back when, that wasn't there to save Jonah, the question of the day is, was it a whale at all? Who knows? But the answer is, if whales have lived all this time, with or without us, would they live beyond us if the whole earth became a whole, well, let's put it this way. Let's say the waters rose so far high that now we have no more land to live on. Would the whales still be alive? I'd say yes. But would they be affected by it in their lungs? I would say no, because they don't breathe that way. But would their bodies suffer from it? Oh, yes. Their bodies have the ability to secrete certain things that actually help them clean the air, the water they live in, and then some throughout time. People that know the cycle of the ocean, but the cycle of the earth, they don't know how to combine the two in order to make sense. So I will say this. The science needs to go next level to be able to make sure that our oceans are clean, pure, and habitable. And what I mean by that is this. Our wildlife, our friends of the sea, need to know they're safe. They share this earth, but we make up a very small percentage of this globe that we live on. The oceans, by far and large, are by far and large compared to land. Now, there are certain climates that are actually becoming worse right here, right now, because of certain things that are happening around the world. There are certain environments where the oceans actually have risen, not receded. There are certain environments which are having major thunderstorms. There are certain environments that are having major volcanoes spew all of a sudden, places where they have not spewed in quite some time. The earth is having a problem right now. And it is up to you and I, and we hope those of the unseen, that can help us bring it back to balance. If we could bring balance back to this earth, we could bring balance for anybody living now and into the future. Those people that went to the Huntington Beach Air Show, and I know the people that promote it, it wasn't the people promoting it that were our problem. It's the people that never notified the people in order to go. We might need to shift this off to another day. Because I can almost guarantee you right now, when you inhale toxic air fumes of any amount, especially to those that already have a problem with their lungs, and you smell it in the air, but you're not sure what that is, that's called a problem eventually. Now, did they get it by getting there all day? I would say yes, because the heat amplified the problems in the ocean. And when you have more heat, and you have more sun, and you have a melting of certain gases, or evaporation as it would happen, when it rises to the top. The crude and all the rest clumps up to become kind of buoyancy. But the rest, when it gets to the land, it becomes more hard rock. Okay, that's a problem, especially with certain wildlife. Now, having said that, there's a methane gas which actually is on the surface, and the oily part, the part that you see that looks all like a rainbow, that after time, when that gets heated up, that evaporates into the air and gets into the nostrils and into the lungs. That's a residue, a filmy residue that can get into your own body eventually. Now, spending at least a day like that is not that big of a deal. Spending a month like that is a horrible way to go. And the fact that these are not reported as quickly and as fast as they need to be is a huge red flag. How do we let this happen again and again and again? Should it be allowed? No. Will it be allowed? Yes, without the proper people saying, look, we need to make this happen right away. But we are the people that usually have to deal with so many things. You hope somebody deals with it. You hope somebody comes to the fore for the environment of the earth. The environment of the earth is something that we live, we breathe, and well, let's face it, whatever happens in Asia doesn't affect us here on the home front. No, it always does. We share the atmosphere. There are things that clean the air, there are things that toxify the air, and there are things that clean the air. Do you have more things cleaning the air than that toxify the air? At the rate we're going, in about another 80 years or so, if we continue on the path that we're on right now, we can toxify the air so much that the air cannot clean itself. And if you understand that, then you'll understand why we need to invest in, obviously, clean air methods to make it so the earth can help clean itself. Can the ocean clean itself? Yes, there are certain things that can help clean it along the way. Can animals clean their systems? The answer is yes, eventually. But they have to be given enough time. People don't understand the migration of whales from north to south to north to south to north to south in the Pacific Ocean. But they do it all around the world. People don't understand the complexities of a given whale. They don't understand the complexities of fish in our ocean. How many of you like seafood? How many of you like any type of crustacean? How many of you like just eating some of the foods that taste so delectable? But when they start opening certain fish and or other things, they're starting to see something very common. And it's a membrane which is looking worse and worse and worse in these wildlife. Now, you ingest that, what's that going to do to your system over some time? Everything fuels something else. It's called a cycle. The earth has its cycle. We have a cycle. Others have a cycle. We just hope we all can get along. It's called financial cycle. When companies primarily spend money for certain things in order for them to profit, it is good and fine as long as they have the money to offset it to be able to say, in the danger zone of this, we can do this right away. How long have we lived with oil that we have not ever had an oil spill? I mean, seriously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, let's make it work right now. Do they have enough money set aside to be able to take care of these situations? The answer is yes. Do they have insurances in the event that they go belly up? Oh, yes, 100%. It's why they are one of the most profitable types of businesses ever, and why they're never going to be away from us ever, which is why certain vehicles, certain machinery, and certain things will always rely on oil. Am I against oil? Yes and no. Let me explain. I prefer a vehicle that requires oil. Why? Because it's readily abundant. Because if there was an emergency, I would know to rely on a vehicle that has oil. Now, having said that, I'm very realistic of where oil goes and how it goes. But if you've ever done an oil change on your vehicle yourself, it's messy. And to remove it, it's terrible. It smells. I don't mind the smell, oddly enough. I like the smell. There's something about tar that I actually like the smell. I'm one of the weird ones. But having said that, it's not good to inhale for too long. I've been in the middle of a bunch of oil looking bad. Now, if too much oil ends up too long in your car, it can get so tarry and gunky that it can mess the gears up from that which it's meant to help eventually. So you have to change the oil. Now, does it help lube areas of the vehicle? Yes. Does it help create a better vehicle in order for you to do more good than bad? I would say yes, of course. You got to get to work, you got to get to the family, you got to get to emergency vehicles, you got to get to everything that requires things to work appropriately. Now, having said that, are there safety protocols in the event that this oil doesn't get there to your vehicle appropriately? Yes, it's called at the gas station. When you pump gas and or have oils and or have things that are flammable, you have a shutoff valve. I always look for the shutoff valve in case there's an emergency. Now, the reality is they get gas from refining oils, okay, methane, octane, and other such things. So the reality is we need to learn how to be able to work with this and other types of oils around the world, or other sources of energy around the world. And the smart ones, although you might say, but they have the most toxicity in the air in certain areas of manufacturing facilities, yes, in China, but Asia is very smart of how to do this. They have several technologies that they're working on, but we here in the U.S. are not talking to them, and we need to start talking. We need to start talking. We need to start implementing the smart ways of doing things when it comes to transportation of oil and or certain rigs, which are honestly very outdated. And you could do it in a way that will not bankrupt people and not create problems for the people that rely on them as jobs. There are ways to do it, but we're working against ourselves. Now, the question of the day is, how much oil can you have after so long? How much of it does the earth have? And in what way are you getting it that might be causing a problem for the earth's crust? You see how it's all related? When you think of it that way, you say, wait a minute, what are we laying down for the future? And I know how people think. They think this, I'll be dead by then, doesn't matter. But I would say this, have you inherited a problem from your ancestors or your forefathers or your family members from way long ago that you don't know because there's no genealogy chart? Have we inherited a problem, or are we passing a problem on to our children we will never meet, or grandchildren that we will never meet, and our great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren? Will they say to us, wow, thanks a lot, forefather, grandfather, super, super, super good great-grandfather who invested millions into himself but never into our family, left here on this earth. Will you leave that legacy behind? Is that the legacy you want left behind? When you view it like that, you understand something about your life. Your life, although here today, gone tomorrow, is leaving a footprint on this earth. And when you leave a footprint on this earth, you leave, I either am here, was here, or will be here for the future. When you view it like that, now you understand we're all putting footprints on this earth. What kind of footprint will you leave? All right, people, I'm out of time. Make it a great day. Whatever you do, remember life is worth living and put some thought into it. I know you guys are smart. Make sure to get smarter each and every day. Bye-bye, everyone.